Kings of Leon, quite possibly the most family band since Sly and the Family Stone. Can't say that for sure, but I had to give him a cool intro, okay?
True North Reviews, True North Reviews, True North Reviews.
Hey there, welcome to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are discussing the Kings of Leon record, When You See Yourself. Comprised of 3 brothers and 1 cousin, Kings of Leon are very well recognized and acclaimed for songs like Use Somebody and Sex on Fire, 2 tracks that embody rock radio of the 2000s. I still come back to these songs and this group every now and then, but noticeably it's been a while since their most recent project, Walls. In fact, it's been 5 years without new music from this band, and it seemed like with each passing year, Kings of Leon would be content with coming back to announce their retirement, much like Daft Punk did not too long ago. But eating my own words, out of the blue, Kings of Leon dropped a couple singles, and here we go into the latest album cycle of When You See Yourself. However, the most interesting detail about this album's rollout might not have anything to do with the music, as Kings of Leon become one of the first bands to release an album in the form of an NFT. From what I saw online, this is a type of cryptocurrency that seems to be more unique and specifically targeted towards the arts. I'm not entirely sure what this entails, but if it means bands are able to fund themselves on another platform with more intimate fan engagement, possibly with some personalized digital media bundles or whatever it could include in the future, I think this is a big plus to any collectors out there as the industry shifts towards streaming and this intangible sense of owning things. Anyways, let's discuss what I assume we're all here for today, which is the music. First off, I want to point out the singles The Bandit and 100,000 People, as they did a really good job of representing what this album sounds like. If you enjoy at least one of them, I think this album is worth a shot, worth a listen. The Bandit especially hits you with that typical Kings of Leon sound. You know it when you hear it. You can't mistake them for anyone else. It puts the pedal to the metal with its energy. It's well written, it's catchy, it's concise, and production-wise it sounds fantastic. A lot of force and vigor under its legs. On the other hand, 100,000 People is slow-paced and emotional. It has some sparkly synths thrown in there that make for a nice motif throughout a handful of these cuts. Sometimes they even sound warm and radiant while droning over some of the other mixes, but expanding into the intro track, which, yes, this album starts on the title track, or at least half of it. The opener is quite ambitious, much like the length of its title, which says a lot because the tune doesn't start off in the most ear-grabbing way. It's not that demanding of your attention nor compelling. There's just a little bass line, there's some reverb guitars, but trust me, the tune eventually does wash over with conviction. Expanded in its form like many of these tracks, the opener goes 4+ minutes, almost 5, and it doesn't drag. Each passage builds on the previous with subtle shape changes and polyphonic texture. Now, as I'm trying to hint at here, the album spends a good portion of its time contrasting high energy with low energy performances, not only both within songs, but the entire project. And the highest peak of energy, and what I would say is my favorite track, is Echoing. This cut has triplet rhythms that re-energize this record after a couple of dull tracks, which I will get into later, but man, there's just something about that guitar tone on Echoing that has me coming back to it. It strikes that nice balance between stylistically what it's going for is that lo-fi and arena rock, just somewhere in the middle. But speaking towards that middle and balance, Jared and Caleb, the bassist and lead singer respectively, without them, I don't see this record reaching that melodic balance, which is odd when you think about it with the bass since it's not always associated with melody, but let's take a look at the track A Wave, for example. It spends a solid 2 minutes establishing this rich and resonant atmosphere, very sad and melancholic, but from those mumbled verses, Caleb starts to sing with more passion in the chorus, and the bass just has this hypnotic feeling to it to tie all these things together and carry that pulse. Another track that showcases the talent and chemistry between Jared and Caleb is Stormy Weather. The meandering bass on here is not super showy, but it's still smooth and steady. The melody might not even fully resolve itself in the chorus, but it's still a song that leaves me wanting more in a good way. The opposite to that, at least initially, was the track Time in Disguise, a very boring tune on this when I first heard it, but once you get past those skimpy piano leads and weightless guitars, the chorus sinks into your skin and just has this full body experience over you. It sounds like I'm describing a trip on drugs, but let's ignore that. Now, going back to that contrast argument I was making earlier, I feel like this album is trying to find a vehicle to carry sadness in the sonic and lyrical aspects in slower tunes, but unfortunately the momentum doesn't carry over as strong onto the back half of the record's runtime. A track like Golden Restless Age has a tune that isn't very memorable in its chorus, and that's a shame after hearing the guitar strumming and chords in the verses which come off as classic strokes. Keep in mind the track isn't awful either, it's just meh. But what has to be the worst is Supermarket. It's this resurfaced song that was originally written while the band was on tour back in 2009, and my god, it should have stayed that way. This track is so repetitive and drab, it is a true test of patience to sit through as Caleb flatly says that he's going nowhere if you've got the time. And I'm very confident that you don't have the time when the production only dampens and crushes the soul and life out of this song. Even the track Claire and Eddie, the only thing going for it is the rising vocal melody at the end, but that's about it. Still, I will give credit to the closer on this project, Fairytale, which is equivalent to what I want to say is the more melodramatic version of Chris Stapleton's Old Friends. Much more understated, but just can't get enough of that sliding bass line, and it's like this record comes full circle as it does fade out on the bass. And that's where I'll wrap this review as well. The biggest upside on this album being the bass. Just when you think some of the songs are on the brink of going stale, Jared reels you back in with a lot of melody, which is in great contrast to the lead guitars. Sometimes in places they sound a little rough and gruff, Echoing being the best example on the back half. But really, that said, this record seems to use up all its energy on the front half. 5 great songs in a row where KOL come out guns blazing, and then they just veer off into melodrama and slower laid-back tunes that don't hit with nearly the same enthusiasm and, by extension, satisfaction. Despite some lulls and some dull moments in the track list, I enjoyed this record a fair amount, and I can give it a 7 out of 10. There you have it. There's the album review today of Kings of Leon's When You See Yourself. Make sure you guys sound off down below in the comments. Tell me what you guys think of this music, whether you agree or disagree. I'm here to engage with you guys. If you'd like to leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town, I'd appreciate that. As always, thanks for watching, and have a rockin' day.